December 5th on a Friday. This morning what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go pick up another pallet of salt. I already opened up shop, by the way, and start the truck here. A little cold, so that's what I'm gonna do is get salt, and then I'm start up the Bobcats here. It hasn't been started for a few days, or yeah, a week at least. So I want to make sure this stuff is started, because they're talking maybe some snow and rain and stuff next week. So yeah. No snow. It's been a while since we got snow. Hoping to get some next week, or some work. Now let's get the pallet off of this truck. Yeah. Pallet and some bags. Snowing a little bit, just a little bit. Look at that. It's about -4 degrees. Man. Yep. Thank you. Yep. Alright, so right now I got done picking up the salt. Now I'm gonna go get some warmth in the greenhouse at the flower market in Jackson. So just walking around, getting some warmth in here. Yeah. So nice to just have this greenhouse right next door. Head out. So back in the office. This afternoon I'm going out for lunch with a friend. Catch up on life. It's just so cold in here. Turn on this heater. Alright, so the heat is on. Alright, I think Marilyn's here. She came and picked me up. How are you?
I'm good. I had to quick answer a text and then I'm thinking, okay, that's open and there's a light, but that could be the guys. And then it's like,
yeah,
shop,
I'm in there.
shop.
Marilyn and I, we just got done with lunch
Yes.
at Embers, and we're now back into the office. And we want to. I want to share a part of my life. I want to be as transparent as possible here to the viewers, and share a little bit part of my life where I was at and where I'm at now today. So.
And I'm glad to be here with you to share that. And we had a good lunch.
Right.
Yeah, that was fun.
It was fun. I think I eat too good.
I think you look healthy though.
I don't know.
Yeah, a good healthy, I think.
So how did we meet?
It seems like a long time ago. We were talking about that a little bit at lunch, and it seems like I've known Chant and Amy and the kids, that it's been a long time. But I think that's in part because there's been so much growth on your part. You know, that it's interesting to think back to when we met.
Right.
And we met at Ashley House. And when you came there, when I first met you, I can't say I remember the first day, but I definitely remember early in group, in treatment. And you were very quiet, very reserved, very polite, extremely polite, respectful. Didn't appear to have any real self-esteem or self-confidence that was noticeable. Always in group, sat right next to me, and I think in part that was a security feeling, but it also was because you wanted to listen. You wanted to hear it, and you were like a sponge. Not only with me, you know, but with the others in group.
And we rewind back to 13 years ago, about 13 years ago, and I struggled with alcohol and drugs, and when I went to the Ashley House for the first time, I think for the first time I felt safe and secure, just because I didn't see that in my life. And so when I met Marilyn, she, you know, you guys would give hugs. You guys give hugs and this and that. Everybody is cheerful. I've never been in a place where, you know, people are like that.
Yeah.
And that was the difference from where I was at and where I was going. So that's, you know, 13 years ago.
Amazing.
Just looking back, it's the road was, it's like trying to find yourself again.
It is. It is. And some of it you don't know how to find because you don't know what you're looking for.
Right.
You don't. you don't know who that person may be. You've been that person since you were tiny and growing up, and maybe you were a person who was lost in drugs and alcohol and didn't deal with any feelings or didn't get to know who you were. And some of us are searching just because we're young anyway, and then you combine that with the chemical factor. But Ashley House was a treatment center, an outpatient treatment center, and I started that with the help of others in the mid-1990s. And I am happy to hear you say it was a place of security for you and safety, because that's what I dreamed it would be, that it would be homey and that it would be a place where people could get healthy because they felt safe and they felt not judged at all.
Right.
And watching you grow, it's a joy to watch people grow when they really want it, even if they don't know for sure what they want in a different way of life. But you truly were and have been through the years. And I know that Amy, your precious wife, has been a big part of that, and your little boys too when they came along. But you have been just like a little bud, that maybe a little bud even with the head hanging, and just kept opening and opening and opening and opening, and you still are. And that will keep going and growing, I think. But to me, you were a nice person, a polite person, a very confused person. Didn't know where you belonged, didn't know where you fit in, but you've just become a beautiful human being and man, Chant. I'm very proud of you. And all of the endeavors and all of the businesses and all of the entrepreneur things that you're taking in and taking part in and growing in are wonderful. But the part for me that makes my heart feel the best and the warmest is who you are becoming inside.
Thank you. So that's the neat part. You and the Ashley House, and there's other people. You only not helped me, but I think you've helped many others. It's just so. That I hope those individuals do to come back and say, you were a part. And that's the neat part about that Ashley House, is that we not only had class or just went in there for sessions or anything. We actually had like picnics and stuff, gatherings, and it almost felt like when I quit drinking and when I quit everything that wasn't good for me in life, I needed that part of my life where it's structured, and just felt like that's, instead of, I could have fun without any of those other things in my life. And so those picnics and the gathering, just, I think, I don't know, it's like, okay, I went from partying all night to just going to picnics for an hour at the Ashley House. It's like, how do people have fun in an hour? When I'm so used
or
to...
sober.
Right, sober in an hour. I'm so used to just staying up all night and partying and just didn't even sleep, through the night, and just drank myself to the point where it just wasn't healthy anymore, or wasn't good. So.
But I think with what you're saying too, it's saying the difference between when we talk about for an hour or all night, or it really is about quality and really being present with people, because we tried to create a family atmosphere there, as you know, that, and we would have the whole family there for Christmas parties or picnics, or we'd go to Ashley Park sometimes or something, 4th of July. But it's such a big part of getting sober and growing and recovering is learning how to have a social life that doesn't involve that. Because one of the first things that people say, and I think that you wonder too, is how am I ever going to have fun again? Right. This is the end of fun. This is the end of enjoyment. My life now is just going to be go to meetings and read things and, learn the 12 steps and do boring stuff. And instead you find out like we were just talking about earlier, you get high on life.
Right. And
Sober.
there's more. It's like you find a whole new way of life, and it's like there's more to
Yeah.
life than just doing all this stuff.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah. That's the thing we hide in or get buried in once we get hooked or get addicted to drugs.
Yeah.
You know, of any kind. And I just consider alcohol as just another drug, just a different type. But
Right.
that's such a big part of learning to stay sober. Many people can stop drinking or stop drugs.
Yeah. Yep.
Then what?
Yeah.
And of course learning how to stay that way and what needs to be done. But today is the day we only need to
Right.
live at a time. And if we look too far ahead, for any of us, or get too far ahead, we're going to get overwhelmed.
Right.
And I think that's something you've shared with me that you struggled with. And I remember her talking about that in the early years.
Yep.
That part of trying to find out who I am and where am I going, and I want it now. Yesterday would be preferable.
Right.
I want to be successful. I want to do all that stuff that I didn't do. I want the family part to be good, and I want it all.
Right.
And we find out that's not going to work anymore. That's just another drug. You know, trying to just have everything at once, and
It almost like it's like you're rebuilding, but it doesn't happen overnight.
no.
You know, it takes time.
And neither did getting
Right.
sick. Neither did becoming unhealthy.
Right.
That took a long time. And that's one of the things that we learned too, is that didn't happen fast. This getting better thing isn't going to happen fast. And it's not that we just we're going toward this certain destination and then we'll be happy.
Yeah.
It's learning to be content and feeling good in the
Good.
process.
Right.
Not that every day is going to be joyful or perfect, but that contentment and peace is more important than anything.
Right. Yeah. So it's that purpose when not everybody has a drinking problem, right?
No.
Not everybody
No.
has a
No.
problem with drinking and stuff. For me, it's one was too many. Okay, one was
Yes.
too many.
Yeah.
And there's people that can drink and be fine with it, but for me as an individual, it's almost like I can't even. You can't even.
No.
That's not even an option.
No.
You know.
That's the beginning of the
Right.
end.
So for many of the ones that are going through what I'm going through, or dealing with somebody that's in the same shoe or in the same process, it's the part of learning how to live a new life. It is a whole new life. It's a whole new
It
way of
is.
living, and it sounds easy it might sound so easy to quit drinking or doing what you're doing. I guess I don't know how would you say that? Like, it's so easy to say, okay, I'm gonna quit drinking, but then to actually do it and
the next parts.
right.
The next things. Because so many people have said to me, especially when I'm doing assessments with people, and some of them don't have a severe problem. Maybe they're in the
Right.
early stages, or maybe they had
Yeah.
a DWI just because they socially drank too much once, or whatever the reason is. But so many people say, well, I know I don't have a problem. I can quit whenever I want to. I quit for 2 weeks, just last month.
Right.
And that may or may not mean you have a problem.
Right.
But a lot of times, the just quitting, maybe it is for a week or two, maybe it's even for a month. That might be the easy part. For some, quitting for even a day, half a day, an hour, sounds like it's impossible.
Possible, right.
But then once you have done the quitting, and there's so much help available to do that part.
Right.
And yes, detox can do it, but again, that's just stopping it for X amount of hours or a weekend or whatever. But then kind of comes the challenging part.
Right.
Okay, now what?
The work. Yeah.
That's the work. And you can have a good counselor, a good support people, going to AA, going to NA, going to the meetings, doing all those things, and that's excellent, but the individual still needs to be willing to
Right.
do the work.
To do the work. Right.
And listen, which you did. That's the big emphasis I think that I want to make on what we were talking about earlier when you were just listening so closely to everything in group, to the speakers, to the videos, to the assignments, is that listening and having an open mind during that time. Because thinking we knew it all is what got us into trouble in the first place, isn't it? You know, thinking our way was better, we were having more fun, we knew how to do it. And maybe feeling sorry for those poor people that are just out there living a boring life and going to...
Just waking up doing nothing.
Just waking up doing nothing. I mean, when you can have so much fun partying, why would you want to? But that's a challenge.
Marilyn's been a big part of my life, just like Roger in my other vlog. And the long story short, Roger is a friend of Marilyn's.
Roger and Carolyn.
Roger and Carolyn, yep. And they went to the picnic, and I was there. And Roger and Carolyn, they met me there. And then I went to your dad's funeral.
Oh, sure. Yeah. That's right.
I went to your dad's funeral.
I've forgotten that. That's so neat you did that. I've forgotten that part.
And then Roger, after that, he came up to me and says, "You want to work for me?"
Oh, that's so neat you're bringing that up, because I forgot how that part, I had lost the middle. I knew that they commented to me right after they had met you, because they weren't sure what was appropriate as far as confidentiality or you know, whatever, which I respect. And they wanted to get to know you better, you know, and they were impressed with you and Amy and at the picnic and sometime during that time then must have been, you know, when Dad passed on. And
Dad. And then Roger came. I was walking, I remember vividly, I was walking to my car. Roger runs over and says, "Chant, you want to work for me?" I'm thinking, oh my God, I've got so much stuff already on my hands. I'm trying to stay clean and sober. I'm trying to find myself. I'm working at a full-time job, 9 to 5, and then
here's this friendly guy out of nowhere going, "Do you want to work?"
And I was mowing lawn, and
that's
at that time mowing lawns too. And I said, "Sure." I go, "I'll add another job on the table." But I knew that. I just felt at that moment I was gonna learn something from, just learn. It wasn't even about money, making the money, because
it wasn't just the job.
It wasn't just a job. It was more of the experience of working out there. And so that's how I met Roger from the previous vlogs you guys seen.
Yes.
So through Marilyn.
And through just who they are as people.
Right.
You know, that was the gift they had to give you too. Like they've given to many also, but they saw in you something that they were attracted to, as far as they saw a goodness there, and they wanted to help you and wanted to help you grow.
Yeah.
You know, and they're really good, caring Christian people, as you know, and down to earth.
Right.
You know, just humble, down to earth people that, and I think what they wanted to give you too was more than helping you learn another craft or another job, or they wanted to give you that family feeling and maybe some farm feeling along with it.
It was like at that time of my life, I was trying to find myself, and all this stuff is totally new, because I didn't know how to be quiet. I knew how to party and hoo-ha, right? And here, it's like you sit down, you're quiet, you talk normally to each other, and I didn't know any of that stuff until you get to see that, and like they literally taught me how to be a son, be a father. It's like all these things that I didn't care about.
No.
Suddenly makes sense.
And just by observing and just by being part of it, and Carolyn with the horticulture part and all of the plants, and you got
with the
interested in that, and look, that was maybe the played a part or was in there with the beginning of that. But like you say, just how to be a family member in a different way when you're sober.
Yeah.
And
be a good person, like giving back, like how would they say that? like to society.
Yeah, I
what
think
is
you're
it?
saying
Good
it.
member.
Yeah, give
know?
that we give back.
Yeah, give back.
You know,
right.
because everything we've been given, and some of us have been given more than others, not just materialistic, but in the way we were brought up. Just some of us, that's just come natural.
Right.
You know, we don't understand why maybe somebody has to learn it unless we've been around them or been around that. But that we give back, and that, to me, I believe that too, for everything we've been given, we have not an obligation as in something that we have to do, but I think just a responsibility to do that, to pass it on, to give it to someone else. And I think it's important not to always take monetary back, you know, payback, but to pass it on, to give it to somebody else. You know, it's, what bigger gift could you give somebody?
Right. Like they say, in order to keep what you have to give it away.
You have to give it away. You know, and you know, sometimes some of that sounds kind of Pollyanna maybe to people that have never. It's like, oh boy, here we go, just be friendly and loving and smile all the time, and you know,
but
let's
it
just
just
dance around the marigold.
It just makes sense. It's like, you know, this. It's not asking anything back in return.
No,
you're just doing it. It's like say you or Roger or Carolyn, you guys do things, probably don't even notice that you're doing it, that it's affecting somebody, but that's your natural sense. That's just what you do.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just like, you know, there's not to boost my ego or anything, but there's times like when I'm working and the employees, it's like you're busy doing what you're doing. You don't even notice that you're helping others.
Right.
In the process.
Yes.
You know, it's just that it just becomes normal.
Well, and our life is and always was, but we don't always realize it, especially I think when we are kind of oblivious to what's going around us or we're using chemicals, that our life is an example to everybody else.
Yeah.
You know, that action speaks louder than words. Words are very important. Words can be, build people up or cut people down. But I think that the most important thing we can do is the way we treat people in our actions. People watch us even when we don't know they're watching. And I've had people say to me from the time even, you know, that I've done counseling and that, well, when you said, and they'll repeat something, and it's almost scary in a way because you think, oh my word, I need to really...
They remember.
That had impact, you know, or when I saw you do this, or when you didn't take part in this, that made me think, you know, or something. And I think it's so important for each of us to really think about that a little more. You know, what are we showing our friends? What are we showing the people around us? What are we showing our kids? You know, what are we showing? Maybe they're not our children. Maybe they're somebody else's or young people by the way we act or we live our lives or the way we treat people. Because kindness and being respectful to each other, to me, those are so important because we're all on this journey.
Right.
You know, this life. We're all going to end in somewhat the same way. And we may be going different places, I don't know. But it's very possible.
It's what we do here and what we leave.
What we leave. What is our legacy?
Right.
You know, many of us, most of us, aren't going to leave behind millions of dollars. And that's not so important. People like it if they can leave something to their children or, you know, something of monetary value. But really the most important thing, one of the most important things my brother was just saying yesterday, and it struck me again, he said something about with our dad that somebody had complimented him on him, you know, after all these years, remembered something he had done or something. And I said, you know, I don't think I've ever heard anybody say anything negative about him. And what a legacy. Wow, I can't live up to that. You know, but I mean, what a thing that, and not that we all have to lead perfect lives, but just the point being that what he left behind was better than any amount of money. What he left was the respect that we have for him and the kind of person he was. You know, and how he treated us, how he treated others. Yeah. And that's the legacy.
That's the legacy, yeah. It's definitely leaving something like that behind, because I've what I feel is that I want to leave a mark, like anybody else. You know, like you said, you don't want to just leave material things, but
No.
leave that mark, because we all will pass.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's okay, people will, when we die, people will remember. People will remember. Okay, a month from now, are people still gonna bring that? It's like,
Yes.
what will they remember of you 20 days or a month later, 2 years later? And when you're able to leave something of value, or like just talking or helping somebody, I think that means more. Because when somebody told me once, when you die, it's the amount of people that will show up at your funeral that's going to determine like what you're leaving behind.
Yes.
It doesn't matter about the money and all this stuff. It's the people that you've touched and you've impacted, and they'll always remember that. You know, it's like I don't know who's going to show up at my funeral, but I'd love to have a block full of those things
where it was overflowing, and not only that, but just and then afterward.
Right.
Because some people are remembered years and years and years afterward.
Yeah, it just keeps going.
You know, they're talking about, oh, remember when this person did this, and that was so nice of them to take time, and you know, that kind of thing. And I think, you know, just to even picture, okay, what would people say if I were gone today, and not to get mauled on it, or you know, but just to think of that kind of things once in a while, to think. You know, because we tend to all, when we hear of a sad occurrence or a tragedy or something, oh yeah, he was such a this, or she was this, or, and sometimes it's like, boy, yeah, she really knew how to party, you know, or he worked all the time, you know, just never saw him not working, or, but what will be people's response, or what will they think about? What will they remember? What will be said at our funeral? What will people talk about or say, or will people be there if able because they want to remember me, or will they no one show up, or hardly anybody show up because they, oh yeah, that's right, I guess that was that person's funeral yesterday, and they don't even remember it. And I think it's important we think about those things once in a while, because it's not just about now. You know, it's not just about this moment or what we're doing. You and I, just from having lunch, both of us there'll be something we'll think about in the days ahead of it. You know, maybe it'll be this. But, you know, even without something that's a little different than what we usually do, or the food or whatever, but we'll remember some part of the conversation, because each of us took time from our day to spend time with each other, and do ever so often to just sort of check in and catch up and enjoy. And that's so much more meaningful to me than so many things that we could be doing at that moment. You know, when we take time for people, or when we're not always rushing to get. I see so many people, even in cars and that, they just appear to be rushing to get nowhere.
Go nowhere. Yeah.
You know, and you see that with people that you ask them how they are, and their eyes, oh, really busy, really, gotta go. And it's like they ask you how they are, and you are, and they're already gone. You know, you're like, I didn't get a chance to tell you, you know.
Candy.